a great win today, but right now it's all about the team, hearing what Mikel Arteta's got to say, and having an upper one-up. So I'll bring you some images of that, and then we'll talk about what was a really good win.
The mission is to bring success, joy, and trophies to this club. But in the meantime, please enjoy the journey, enjoy the company. I cannot be more grateful and be more proud to have been journey with all of you, the players and the staff, everybody at the club.
Mikel Arteta spoke about reconnecting and listened to the fans and the appreciation. I know we're all a bit disappointed, but the way the fans are responding to the players, brilliant. Really, really good to see. There's some real connection between the fans and the players and the manager and the club this season. And it gives us a good platform for next year. All on next year now. Listen to that reception. That to me speaks to a fan base that knows this team really tried this year, and overall it was positive. Even though it ended in disappointment, overall there's a lot to be positive about. The story is about this man today. Massive redemption story, and I wish he got his hat-trick today. But well played, Granit Xhaka. It's been an interesting period at the club for him, and that's it, you know. At least he's gone out on a high.
There we have it, the season done. At least we finished it in style in our last game, but that regret, that disappointment, we cannot deny it. It's there, we know it's there. It could have been so much more. It could have been one that lived long in the memory and ended 19 years of no Premier League success. But hey, it didn't. And you know, all of us fans will figure that out differently in our own minds as to how we see that. Some of us will be more disappointed than others. I can't shake that disappointment. I think Martin Ødegaard, he spoke in his post-match interview on the pitch in front of all of us in the ground about the fact that there's definitely been improvement there, and we've got to look at that positively, even though there is disappointment. And everyone applauded that. And I think that, you know, if you've got an agenda, you're only going to focus on one or the other. You're only going to focus on either the improvement, if you're totally positive, or if you want to be totally negative, you're only going to focus on the disappointment. The reality is you sit somewhere in between there. But as the season goes on, expectations have to change. That's why you see teams celebrating surviving relegation. No team at the start of the season, or very few teams, certainly not your Leicesters and your Evertons, have a plan to survive relegation on the final day. But when it happens, they celebrate it. That tells you that they're not referring back to their original expectation, they're referring back to an expectation that was formed throughout the season based on how the season is going. So likewise with Arsenal, when you refer back to your expectation and your hope based on how the season was panning out for us, it could and potentially should have been so much more. Instead, you know, we finished second, and you know, before the start of play today, we were guaranteed second. Now, if someone had told me that that's going to be the case, you know, at the end of this season, if they told me that 9 months ago, 12 months ago, I would have said, you know what, yeah, I'll take that. That seems like a really positive forward step for Arsenal. So I am going to give the team a lot of credit for that. But man, honestly, it's very hard to shake the disappointment. I couldn't really enjoy the day today fully. It's our joint best home performance of the season in the league. We beat Forest 5-0. Now we've done it to Wolves. And Wolves, let's face it, they were on holiday today. I think the players are already on the beach, but ultimately, you know, we still had to do what we needed to do, and we did that really well. I just couldn't enjoy it because, you know what, the thing that I kept on thinking in the back of my mind is the difference between Arsenal with the pressure on and Arsenal with the pressure off is there, and it's plain to see. We need to become that killer team that can play like this with that level of freedom when the pressure's on. And it's funny, Man City are the exact opposite. When the pressure was off earlier on in the season, they didn't look great. And as soon as it became like, okay, now it's time to focus, now we cannot slip up, they just clicked into gear. And today you look at them, and I know it wasn't with their starting players, De Bruyne rested, Haaland rested, but they go to Brentford when there's no pressure and they lose. Man City are that team, they're killers. When the pressure is on, that's when they're at their best. It's like they almost need the pressure. They find it boring without. And Arsenal, that pressure when it's really, really on, we struggle. And it takes a real steel and a real backbone to deal with that. And hopefully, last season's disappointment, this season's disappointment, that will help us figure that out and develop that killer skill. You know, that's very, very hard. You see a lot of teams who struggle with that when the pressure's really on. Hopefully we'll be better next season for the disappointment that we've experienced this season. And I've said this before, it's all about how we harness the disappointment we've had this season and apply it next season. I think Arsenal have shown enough times this season we've got a lot of quality. You saw Ødegaard, Jesus, Saka, they were brilliant today. Absolute technicians of that ball. They are top quality players, and hopefully they'll be even better this season. And we've got a big summer now ahead of us with a lot of transfer activity, with Champions League money as well to consider, and also a lot of outgoings. We've still got Pepe on loan, we've got Balogun and Ketia, maybe one of those will leave. We've got Xhaka leaving. There's still a lot to sort out, and that's just a few of the players. Tierney, is he going to be here next year? We've got a lot of players to go, a lot of money to come in, and that means a lot of players to come in as well. And, you know, with that benefit of Champions League football, there's players like Gundogan and there's Zaha, Premier League proven players available on free. Leicester have gone down. Now, if we want strength in depth, who's going to say no to players like Maddison, for example? There's a lot that we can do to this squad to improve it, and we're going to need to improve it, because I want to see Arsenal go into the latter stages of every competition next year. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about the future. I'm going to start talking about next year. I'm going to focus on today. And I've got to speak about Granit Xhaka. I mean, what a dream end to his Arsenal career in terms of the 90 minutes. Obviously, it would have been a dream if we had won the league. But for this to be a final game, for him to get those 2 early goals, to get the adulation of the stadium, it is such a brilliant turnaround story. You know, he has absolutely done a complete 360, because it's amazing. At one point, I remember saying he'll probably never play for the club again. He probably should never play for the club again, with the way he walked off the pitch in that infamous game against Crystal Palace. But the way that the stadium, everyone in this ground today, almost, and it's not the first time we've done it, but especially today, the way we sort of sang his name, gave him special praise and attention, even at times some people in the ground singing Granit Xhaka, we want you to stay. That shows a lot about the redemption that Arsenal fans are willing to allow you to have as a player. And it's a message, it's a lesson for any Arsenal player, you know, that's ever playing for the club or that ever wants to join the club, that we are a fan base that actually, do you know what, if you fix up, we will forgive and forget. And that's what we've done at Granit Xhaka. You know, if you're watching today and you're still holding a grudge against Granit Xhaka and you didn't like see him score those 2 goals, if you didn't want him to get his hat-trick, it says a lot more about you and your persistence with agendas than it does about anyone else or Granit Xhaka. It's lovely to see that we can kind of move on from things, and best of luck to Granit Xhaka in his next chapter of his career. He's never going to be my favourite player for Arsenal. I'm not going to go and get his name on the back of my shirt like I do with Ian Wright, but still, just nice to see that sort of redemption story. Well done to the entire team this year. And though, yes, you failed because success equals trophies and we had no trophies, you've shown me that we're a proper team and that we've got a lot to be excited about next year. Let's go and do the business next year, have a well-earned break, and everyone enjoy the pre-season. Hopefully we add some very exciting names to the squad, and I'll see you all next year. Last thing I will say is thank you very much for tuning in. Your support, all of your consistent views since I've had my own channel has been humbling. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, subscribe, because you know I'll be back here next season with renewed optimism, and hopefully we can go and achieve something brilliant. Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.